Hi, I'm Susan Rutledge, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to make a vector color halftone effect for your text in Adobe Illustrator. It's a very trendy effect right now. We see it all over the internet, and I'm going to show you how simple it is to make right now. So let's move to a document where I've already set up our background text. This is the font I'm going to be using for the project. I've chosen a lime green for the background color of our design. Now, once you have your text created, the size and spacing are exactly the way you want it, then you're going to need to convert them to outlines before you continue. So we'll select this text, move down to the bottom of the Properties panel, and in the Quick Actions area, I'm going to press Create Outlines. Now Illustrator is going to look at each one of these letters as an object instead of text. So I'm not going to be able to come in and retype a letter if I misspelled a word. That's why you need to make sure it's all the way you want it before you create those outlines. Now this is the background color. We're going to add 2 more copies, and each one will have a very specific purpose. So I'll hold down the Option key and just drag up our next copy, and this is going to be the middle layer, and this layer is going to determine what the color is of our halftone. We can make it any color we want, but we do want it to show up, so there needs to be at least a little contrast. A lot of times I'll just start out with black, and then if I find that's too harsh, I'll make some changes. But my favorite thing to do is to create my own color, starting out with the base color and then adding in a little black. So that's what we're going to do here. I want to show you how to do that. So I'll come up and click on the color fill icon and come down to the bottom bar here and click on the new swatch icon. This opens up a panel where I can make a new color. Now I'm going to change the color mode first. It's set to RGB. But we're going to set it now to HSB, and you don't need to worry about changing it back because Illustrator will do that for you. Now H stands for hue, S for saturation, and B for brightness. And what we'll do is just lower the brightness until we have the color where we want it. And this is showing me what the color is going to be, and I feel like that's going to be a great contrast for our base color, so I'll say OK. And we'll close out of this. Now we'll make one more copy. I'll hold down the Option key again and drag the last copy up, and it doesn't matter what color we make this, it's going to end up being black and white anyway. I do recommend that you give it a different color so that if you have a lot of text on your screen and there's a lot of overlap, you'll be able to look at the colors and know which layer is which, because you want to keep them in order. It'll just make it a lot easier. So let's come over here and just make this orange, and then we'll close out the swatches panel, and this is the layer that we'll start with. I'll come over to the left toolbar and I'm going to double click on the gradient tool. That opens up the gradient panel, and I'll click now on the gradient slider. And immediately we have a gradient slider on every single one of the letters here in our group because they're all considered an individual shape. Now you can change each one individually with their slider, or you can make a change on the gradient slider here in the panel, and those changes will be uniform and consistent across every one of the letters. And that's what I'm going to do here. To make a change to the gradient, we grab hold of this little diamond and we move it one way or the other on the slider. If I want more dark on the gradient, I'm going to grab hold of the diamond and drag to the left, and you can see the change that is affected on each one of the letters. Now that's really dark, so let's pull it back a little bit. That looks better. If I wanted to add more white, I would go the opposite direction and just add more white along here. Now let's bring the diamond back here in the center, and I want to talk to you about how gradients and halftones work together. If these letters were just going to be a gradient, then when I closed out the gradient panel, the dark side would be on the right and the lighter side would be on the left of each of these letters based upon what I've created here. But when you take the text that has the gradient on it and you incorporate a halftone, it is exactly the opposite. So let's take this T for example. On the right where it's dark, it's going to be light on the halftone, and on the left here where it's light on the halftone, it's going to be dark. So just remember that in this example, the dark is on the right, and you'll see what I mean. So let's go ahead and close out of the gradient panel, and I'm going to come up to Effect, down to Pixelate, and choose Color Halftone. This brings up the color halftone panel. These numbers are what determine the size of the circle of your halftone. Now you have to pick a number between 4 and 127. The lower numbers mean smaller circles. The larger numbers will mean larger circles. And what I have to do, you use the same number for all of the rest of these values. I'm going to choose 25 here. Then I'll tab down to type in 25 in each of the other areas and say OK. Now we have the start of our halftone, so don't be thinking, oh, she didn't know what she was talking about, because even this is darker on the right. It is now, but hang on, it's going to change. Now I'm going to get the selection tool, and what I have to do is join the top layer and the middle layer, and the top layer has got to be on top. Now the way I created the text was from the bottom up, so if we go to the layers panel, you can see, and let me just increase the size of these. We'll come down to panel options, change this to large. Maybe you can see it a little better. Okay, so we have the background color here, and we have the background color at the bottom of the list. Each time you create an object on the artboard, it's given its own layer in the layers panel. And each time you create a new one, it goes on top of the previous one. Not only is it on top in the list, if these two text groups are in the same place on the artboard, the one that's on top in the list is going to be in front on the artboard. So that's why I started out bottom and labeled these the way I did. So all I have to do now, because I know that the top layer is really going to be on top of the middle layer, I'm going to select these, go to the Properties panel, click on Horizontal Align Center, and then Vertical Align Center. Now with the two of these selected together, I'm going to come over to Opacity and click Make Mask. Now look what's happened. Dark is on the left and the lighter part is on the right. We're almost finished. What I'll do now is select our halftone and our background layer, go back over to the Properties panel, and click Horizontal Align Center and Vertical Align Center, and just like that, we have a finished product. And I think that looks really nice. Now, if you want to add a drop shadow, you're not going to be able to add one to the top layer because it's a mask and nothing is going to show around the outsides. So we've got to select the background layer to add that shadow in. So I'll come back over to the Layers panel, and I'm going to click on this little button right here. When I do, Illustrator selects all of the pieces in the background color. To look at that, I'll twirl this open and you can see each one of these are selected. Then I'm going to come up to Effect, down to Stylize, and over to Drop Shadow. I'm going to change this to 0.04 and 0.04 and put that at normal. We'll leave opacity at 75% and say OK. And that's how you add a drop shadow. Now, there are a lot of ways to get different looks with your halftone effect. Some of those you do ahead of time when you're adjusting those numbers to decide how big the circles are going to be. Sometimes you may want to move the gradient from one direction to the other, or edit each different letter with its own gradient slider. I used the linear gradient. You can use the radial gradient, and you can change a lot of the colors. Now we can do the color changes even after we've created our halftone. Let's select this top part here. You can see I have it selected in the layers panel. I'll go to the properties panel, and you see the green color that I made, and all I have to do is click on the fill color icon, and we can change it to any color we want. So let's look and see what black would look like. That looks nice. And in addition to changing color, you can change the opacity. So let's see what happens when we lower the opacity. I'm just going to drag this down about halfway, and you see we have another different look. Now let's select it and change this to white. And it looks kind of cool. Now, just for fun, I'm going to make one more and show you the difference in the sizing. So let me delete this real fast. We need to get rid of the drop shadow. The other thing that's important is you want a fill color, but never a stroke. All right, I'm going to move this back down as my background layer. And then I'll hold down the Option key, drag up a copy, and we're going to make this black, and then I'll make another copy, and we'll change this to yellow so we can see the three colors here. Now I'll start with the yellow, double click on the gradient panel, apply this, and then close out the panel and come up to Effect, down to Pixelate and Color Halftone. Here I'm going to change this to 40. And say OK, and then we'll select the top layer and the middle layer, go to the Properties panel, click on Horizontal Align Center and Vertical Align Center. With those selected, I'll come over to Opacity and click on Make Mask. Now we'll select the halftone and the background color and join these. Horizontal Align Center and Vertical Align Center. And you can see the difference now in the size of those circles. Now let me go ahead and add the drop shadow back in so you can get a good idea of how those two different size halftones really look. And there you go. Now I do think for these letters, I like the circles a little bit smaller, but it's a personal preference, and you just want to play around with all the different numbers and with all the different colors to get the look that's right for the project that you're working on. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video and learned some things that will spark your creativity when it comes to those color halftone text effects. I want to invite you to subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to click the notification bell so you won't miss any of my future tutorials. And I'm going to look forward to seeing you again next time. Thank you so much for watching. Bye now.